Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits to full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Welcome to Opinion Nation.
And we stand today on the edge of a new frontier.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
What makes us Americans is our shared commitment to an ideal that all of us are created equal.
I, too, am American.
Now here's your host, Bryce Robbins.
Alright everybody, welcome back to another installment of Opinion Nation. Sorry it's been a little infrequent lately. So I'm back in DC. Last week I got caught up actually doing debate team and whatnot. So all fun, all exciting, all pulling through. So far everything is great. But I've been in GW here for a little bit over a month, and I couldn't help but notice signs everywhere. Now, these signs are big, pretty big signs, campaign signs, hung up on streetlights and lampposts and whatever. And it's all about this guy who's running for president. And it says, "Make America Sane" on it. And, I couldn't help but notice this sign every day, just all over the place. So, be it that I like to get guests on my show who are running for president, I contacted him. So here with me today is Russell Hirshon. I hope I pronounced your last name right. And he's joining me today to talk about his run for the presidency. So, welcome to my show. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
So, are you based out of Washington, D.C.? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I was born in D.C.
Okay.
So it's a bird's eye view of politics, and so we're based out of D.C. I live just outside the D.C. border.
Oh, okay. So if you can, I looked into your website and everything before I asked you to come on the show just to see what you were about, and your message is interesting. So at first glance, you think, oh, this is someone trying to be funny running for president. But when my attention was caught by your website, it's unique. So if you can, maybe just give us a little background about yourself and tell us exactly what that message is.
Sure. Well, most importantly, it's certainly, the campaign is not about me or getting votes or getting contributions, none of which I'd likely get anyway. But it's really about a discussion on this election and what good may come out of it. And as I was thinking about this about a year ago and watching the development of the respective candidates, I felt compelled to run a campaign that asks people to donate to charitable organizations rather than political campaigns. And that's truly, I think, important, because in this particular campaign that we're approaching $2 billion in contributions through the various channels for these two candidates, which is insane, given the two candidates. So my campaign is that. It speaks to the importance of what we all can do, and I'm doing it in the most unusual way, as you probably noticed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it definitely caught my attention. So, is this the first time you ran for president or elected office?
Well, I ran for president in 1992, and that was an interesting journey into almost a political science course. It was I was 31, so too young to take office. And for me, it was just about experiencing the amazing aspects of living in a great democracy like the one we have. It was, in some instances, being included with organizations like Rock the Vote and MTV, as my message was asking people to get out and vote, or I might win. The irony of how that kind of works, like where people don't and didn't then and still don't feel that their vote is important. In fact, as we all saw in Florida, where 100 or so votes made the difference in who the president of the United States was. So it's insane, and it's incredible. So back in 92, long before I think it became that apparent, that my message was to try and speak to younger voters who are easily disenfranchised by the political system, and just say, hey, you guys, I'm running for president. I can't legally take office, and I don't want your vote. And obviously, getting to where we need to go is going to be more of a performance art piece, more of an art spectacle of me doing different things as I take the journey of my own. So it was quite something, and honestly, I wouldn't have run again. I mean, when you do something, and a lot of the pictures on my existing site pull from that content, but I wouldn't have done it again, except that this election was almost disturbing. And I felt compelled to say, you know what, maybe there's a message I can put forth.
So, if you don't mind me asking, I'm just a little curious. When you're not running for president, what is your occupation?
Well, I have a creative agency in which we work with clients to develop a variety of digital assets. And then at night, I work at a barbecue restaurant to try and bring in more money.
All right. Now, I'm just curious because, your message it's very unique. I've interviewed a lot of people who are, third-party candidates who are running for president, but none of them have the message you have or the willingness to say, I'm not going to be the next president, but I want you to take this message away. And you go about it in such a unique way. What was it, I guess, what was the line that was drawn for you that you said, that's it, I'm running for president again? Because you said you weren't going to do it again. So I'm just curious. What was the line that was drawn? You said, that's it, I'm running.
I think it was a couple things. Okay. One was, as we saw with the prototypical candidates who, had spent their careers working within the system to move forward. These are individuals who spent many, many years in politics, in public service, with great knowledge of politics and dedication, varying dedications to serving the public. Mm-hmm. And they fell by the wayside due to a set of circumstances of unrest and unhappiness and voter discontent. But I think it started with the language that we heard in the campaign. Because we, as a country, we hold ourselves high. We expect great things from our leaders. We expect an idol, someone we can look up to, someone our children can look up to, ideally, by the way they act, by the way they behave. And in the Republican primaries, it was a new vision of how candidates behave. And I didn't think that was becoming, because I thought not only is the audience American, voters, citizens, it was also the world was kind of looking at us and going, this is the America that's going to lead, ideally or hopefully, potentially lead the free world forward and the fight for democracy. And it was just too much for me. And I thought, out of 300 million people plus, right? 330 million, this is what we have. These are the two candidates that are representing us. And it's not easy. I know the journey for any candidate is not an easy one. And to make that and be that, no one can be perfect. But I just thought when we got here, I'm like, I just felt compelled, like, well, there's nothing I can do that will eclipse what I've already seen. Literally, and I think you may have seen some of the stuff I've done. Literally, people are not fazed by some of the things I do, and they're more fazed by some of the language coming out of the discussion. So that's incredible. That is incredible.
Absolutely. Now, you on your website, I think it just goes along with the message perfectly. You say donate, but not to me. So I'm wondering, for people who take this advice of not donating to campaigns, almost not getting involved in campaigns, do you think that could hurt us in the end? That if we don't, participate in the political system, even if the candidates suck, one of them's still going to get elected. And I don't know where you align politically, but, to me, one could be a lot worse than the other. So
yeah, I think they should participate. I don't think it's me saying stay away from the political process. I just think the numbers we're putting, does it really take, will Clinton need her, literally she's going to hit $1 billion in spending. And does she really need $1 billion to differentiate herself? And oh my God, does Donald Trump need $600 million? I can't imagine one person from Trump switching to Clinton or one person from Clinton switching to Trump. So what we're doing is we're putting forth, it's literally, it comes down to the swing states. It comes down to a number of people in those swing states. And that money will be used to affect those voters. Because literally, as you know, in Florida, it came down to very few votes. Right. And then you've got Ohio, you've got New Hampshire, you've got Pennsylvania. Those are the states where if one individual wins, Ohio, Florida, and Pennsylvania, or some combination of those three and others, that will be the next president. It doesn't mean, ideally, it doesn't mean that all the other states are insignificant. It just means that they're leaning either Democratic or Republican, and the way our voting system is set up through the electoral process, this is what it comes down to. So my point is, we don't need, and let's talk about the last 30 days of the campaign. They're going to put $200 to $300 million into the 5 states. Mm-hmm. So I actually haven't seen any. I don't know if you have, but I haven't seen any Trump or Clinton campaign posters on the streets.
You're right.
I've seen a couple on lawns, but I haven't seen any efforts. So they're saying in Washington, you're Democratic, it's Clinton. That's not what we're worried about. So I do think people should be involved in the political process. I think maybe it's a matter of campaign finance reform, adjusting the limits, and then take it upon ourselves. I mean, we need to ask ourselves what we can do to make America better. And it's not me acting as a representative. It's us as a group saying, this is, they're the things we want to accomplish, and how do we do it together? How do we make our cities cleaner? How do we reduce crime? How do we provide education? It's big questions that I don't have the answer for.
Absolutely. And I'm just curious. So, what are the places that you would want people to donate their money to if it's not the Clintons or the Trumps of the world?
Well, so the things I'd like are two. One, I would love to hear people say, instead of the $20 or $50 or even, God forbid, the maximum $2,700 per candidate, instead of that, if they said on my Facebook page, said, I'm going to give my max to my favorite charity, not my favorite, not my Russ Hirshon's favorite, mm-hmm. but to their favorite charity.
Right.
To me, that's the biggest win. To me, that's everything. That's like saying, wow, someone has agreed that maybe they have enough money, and they've also said, I want to empower an organization that's important to my family or myself, or because it helps a friend, or because I'm emotionally compelled by it. And if they did that, that's the biggest win. On my website, I've picked 3 charities that are important to myself, because I have friends suffering from illnesses, or I've already passed away due to illness, or they're serving others. And that's an outlet which people can say, I love specifically what Russell's doing, and if it makes him feel better and I don't have another charity, I'm going to give directly to those charities. That's a win. That's a win for the charities. But at the end of the day, it's not about me or anything I do. It's about us all asking a question about, where we live, and especially this presidential campaign. I think, as you saw even today's news, mm-hmm. as today's messaging, you're asking yourself, we just heard this kind of conversation coming out of, and back and forth, of a presidential campaign 30 days out, and we're getting used to it to the point of where people aren't fazed. I just think we have a lot of work to do.
So, I'm just curious to jump a little here. On your website, there frequently comes up photos of you on a toilet. I'm just curious why. What is the message there?
So it stems from performance art that I did back in 1990.
Okay.
In Washington, D.C., there were several things happening. One, Mayor Marion Barry had been caught smoking crack, and yet was still not only leading in the polls, but confidently running for mayor.
Okay.
That was one aspect of it. The other was the fact that on the other side of the spectrum, we had a homeless problem in Washington where people were living on the streets, and ironically, there was a discussion on providing facilities for them, like to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
And it was a passing conversation. So because I had done performance art previously, and performance art is literally doing things in spaces that are not typical and seeing reactions from people, whether there's reactions or not. So it could be as simple as standing in a metro with a broom, but you're not a custodian. And maybe the art of that function is people see you and you're dressed a certain way, or you're moving a broom and it's exacting very little motion, or it's as extreme as some of the other performance art I did, which was, hanging from a ceiling with goldfish, sitting on a toilet in public, and some other kind of strange things. But
right.
for the toilet aspect of it, the reason I specifically did that was because to see what would happen if a man in a suit sat in a toilet while commuters drove home on Whitehurst Freeway. And it was astounding. I mean, literally sitting on the toilet, reading a newspaper, and individuals, to that, because that's the same corner where the homeless people would panhandle, would ask for donations or money.
Right.
And I replaced one of the individuals who would be begging there, and I put my toilet, I got a lovely suit and shoes and tie. And instead of seeing someone asking for money, it was just a guy who looked like he came out of an investment bank, and was taking a dump on the street. And I got some people threw quarters, and it landed on my newspaper and went into the toilet bowl. Other people asked for directions. I mean, it was just unusual. And my point is, I just wanted people to think about, what they see and potentially react to it. I mean, so that's where the toilet came from. And I do that now to foster a conversation like the one we're having, to also see how people react, and then to carry a message within it that is partially creative and then partially platform driven. So it's unusual. If you were on the website, you would see videos of me in California. We went there, picked up a toilet from Home Depot, and put it in various locations and sat on it, which was incredible. I mean, it was some crazy things going on, but it was received well, and people had a lot of questions, and I told them why I was doing it, what I hope people do.
Yeah, wow. So if you don't mind me asking, in this upcoming election, can we expect any shenanigans or performing art pieces, actually, not shenanigans is not the right word, performing art pieces to, I guess, speak to this election? You there?
I was probably being too wordy.
All right, so I'm just curious. So you were talking about your performing arts piece by going to the bathroom. The symbolism behind that. I'm just wondering, in this election, are we going to expect something new, something similar, something around, giving a message of any sort, something like to the level of going to the bathroom in public?
Well, I think we're seeing that now. I mean, so I was sitting at DuPont Circle in the afternoon about 6 weeks ago for a half hour, and it wasn't extremely different from what I did way back when, except times have changed, and we have people who on YouTube are far more used to unusual things. But that was certainly interesting to me. And then we did the same thing on the West Coast with varying responses. So, I will be putting up posters. I'm planning to go to Iowa next weekend, and I'll put some posters up there. Again, it's just to elicit a conversation, and knowing that people may react adversely. I mean, politics are extremely passionate. People, as you can see through the media, are willing to fight for their candidates, and my mission is just to ask people to consider how we're funding it.
So, I absolutely agree that campaign finance is a problem. But, I'm just curious to play a little devil's advocate here. Couldn't we say, though, that me donating my personal money, just like I imagine you donate your money to your campaign to finance your posters, is my freedom of speech? And by people choosing to donate, their money to Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, is that not their will, so to speak? Kind of like with Bernie Sanders. I mean, he did it pretty well. I mean, he made a lot of money, and he only got an average of $27, and he wouldn't accept more than $2,000. I mean, that's pretty amazing. The small amounts add up. So, is that not like someone's free speech, so to speak?
Yeah, it is a spectacular part of the process, and my intent is not to say let's stop donating.
Okay,
it's kind of the segmentation where we have, who's really electing or assisting in electing our candidates. There would be nothing fairer than saying, you know what, we're going to let the people speak. They're going to speak two ways. One, they're going to show their support by financially supporting the candidates, and the other is they're going to go out and vote. So I'm not essentially disturbed so much about the general amounts of money people are giving. I'm asking that they consider how much they've given and is it necessary in this particular election. But I absolutely think that we should have another conversation about the influence of super PACs, and then maybe even put constraints on party and joint fundraising committees and their impact on the campaigns. It's, there are many ways to give to a campaign, and if it's a super PAC, you could literally, and people do, give millions of dollars to organizations aligned with a particular candidate. Mm-hmm. And that's not one vote, one person. It's not one donation, one candidate. If we all gave, let's say if the maximum for each individual giving stayed the same at $2,700, that's could be a little unfair because people of lower income wouldn't have the ability to give that much, and depending on the segmentation of the parties, it could mean that one candidate gets substantially less. But when you add in the super PACs, it becomes outrageously unfair because just a few individuals can, and have influenced who may or may not be president. So I would never want to say, let's just, we need to stop donating to presidential candidates or campaigns. I think that's important. In this election, I'm asking, do we need any more money to differentiate these two candidates? And in general, we should ask ourselves questions about what's allowed under the current congressional laws.
All right, so on that note, I would like to take a break. Would you be able to stay with us a little while when we get back?
Yeah, if you want to have me.
All right, absolutely. Sounds good. So we're going to go to break right now. Right now we're here with Russell Hirshon. He's running for president, but not for the normal reasons you would think someone is. So we'll be right back to continue this interview just after a short break. Gotta pay some bills.
I was scared of dentists and the dark. I was scared of pretty girls and starting conversations. All my friends are turning green. Yeah, the magician's assistant in their dream.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
And we stand today on the edge of a new frontier.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America. What makes us Americans is our shared commitment to an ideal that all of us are created equal. I, too, am American.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Opinion Nation. I'm your host, Bryce Robbins. Today, I'm joined again by Russell Hirshon, and he is running for president of the United States, but not for reasons you would think. And I honestly must say that of all the presidential candidates I've interviewed, this is beyond the most interesting one to talk about because you are unique in every sense of the way. Your message, I'm very fascinated with how you are doing this, and I'm just almost curious, what more or less inspired you maybe in 1992? Did something maybe growing up or something you saw specifically just say, you know what, I have a message and I'm going to share it with the world? What was it that made you have this idea?
Well, it's coming, I was a bartender. Mm-hmm. And I think, you ask yourself, what would happen if what kind of ripple in the pond can happen if somebody with no money, no support, no viable traction, and literally no reason for people to listen to, what would happen if an individual said, I'm going to run for president and see what comes of it? And that combined with being young and asking, why are other voters my age not participating? Mm-hmm. And I thought, because I ran for mayor in 90, in response to what I was seeing in the news and what was happening in politics, I thought it seems like a logical progression to be able to run for president and see what would happen. And it was an amazing journey. It was incredible. And that, it became quite simple. You register with the Federal Election Commission. You create posters and you put them up. You speak to people who are willing to speak to you. And then you see what happens. And I think because when you're a bartender, you don't worry about what people think about you. There is no stigma of being that individual who I think we would all. I mean, even I would question the sanity of, oh, you're running for president? That's insane. Don't you know that there's no chance? I mean, even with the third party candidates we have now, we have to say, don't you know? And they're even asking why Johnson's still in the race, even though he's got like 15% support in some states, or as a whole. Don't you know you're not going to win? So for me, this has never been about winning. It's more like taking that journey and seeing if we can have some good come out of it.
So did you ever decide to actually give a chance to run for a local position with the intent to win, with the focus that it wasn't an art piece, that you really wanted to win something?
Yeah, the advisory neighborhood planning council. So when I was 17, in our neighborhood, there was a polling place, and I was the youth neighborhood planning council representative, and I'm not even sure I was running against anyone, but I think I made flyers, and I was elected to that position. And so we met at the local library and listened to individuals complain about stoplights, spending budgets, and other items pursuant to the neighborhood. And that was that. But that, that I don't think that made me feel any easier about running for mayor. I think the mayor thing was just, does anyone else see the insanity of what I'm seeing? An individual getting shot in the head, a young boy who was shot in the head, and it's a passing story. And then a multi-month investigation, and a mayor who was revered by many, but in a different spectrum was just out of control. And this was, being in Washington, there were many things like this happening all the time. You had senators having affairs, women falling in the reflecting pool, just the usual aspect. But I think it was because I felt very attached to Washington that when I saw that, I was like, I could run for mayor and do better.
How'd you do in your race? How did you do in your bid for the mayoralship?
I'm not sure, but I may have gotten 2 votes. but it's what's more important is the posters were hilarious. I thought they were, and people embraced it because I think they knew. I mean, my conversations were never about me being better, or it was just about bringing a discussion about, and I think people had that, and it was good.
So something that I really am just curious about, and I guess it kind of bleeds off my last question, is, so I've interviewed a guy named Eloy J. Delgado, and he's running for Congress back where I'm from, my state, from New Jersey, and he was actually a teacher when he started. I interviewed another guy who's seriously running for president. His name's Lloyd Kelso, and he was just a lawyer in North Carolina and said, you know what, I'm doing it. And he's put a lot of money and effort into it. I've interviewed a farmer who decided he was going to run for president, Frank Irwin. I've interviewed a lot of people who are seriously running for president, and I noticed that with all of them, and let's not forget Jill Stein as well, I noticed with all of them, they were all running because they not only felt that the current people were so awful, but that they could make a change, that their, whatever it is about them could change something. And I'm just curious, they put so much time and effort into this, and it seems that you put a lot of time and effort into what you're doing. Have you ever considered, I guess recently, taking what you do and actually applying it to a real position where you intend to win, so you can, in fact, make those changes to our society? I mean, I agree with you. Campaign finance reform is a number one. Do you ever consider, maybe I should take this and make something of it, actually make laws or something of that nature? I mean, it seems you're really driven by this.
Yeah, it wouldn't be me that would be the one that make the laws. I am I am not suited for that just because it's not me. But what I think real change comes from all of us. That as a larger group, that it is the public's desire to exact change is what brings change. The different initiatives where people are demanding that things that are a certain way now change, and whether it's it's a petition on change.org, or if it's a protest, or if it's an initiative where people participate together and say, how can we make these things better? I think that's more powerful than an individual, certainly myself, saying that we're going to make things better. We have to decide as a country,
right,
to say, where's that vision that we all had when we were children? I had that. I would be the one that so proudly looked at the flag, and we still all are emotionally driven by that. When you see the Jets fly over any football game, or you see the American flag, or you see the servicemen, or you see someone that has given or paid this price for our country, whether it's physical or emotional. I think the real change will come about when, as a nation, we decide to do things. And what I'm doing doesn't fall in that category. I'm a messenger of a truly alternative sort. I think many people would look at what I'm saying and say, this is self-serving, or you're insane, or this is stupid, and that's perfectly fine. But you and I both know that if I took off that strange-looking hat and I put down policies and platform statements on my site, what in God's name would anyone, and why would they care? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't. I would just be. This is not where I would expect to see an individual passionately speaking to how America could be better. We need to make America better by doing things, and doing things to help our neighbors, and doing things to help each other. And my campaign is just a footnote on asking people to say, we need to demand more of ourselves, and we need to. Wouldn't it be better to support a charitable organization instead of, in particular, this campaign in which there couldn't be two more completely different candidates?
That is absolutely a beautiful message. And then, I'm just curious here. Did you find what you were looking for perhaps in Bernie Sanders? I mean, it sounds like almost a similar message. I'm just curious.
I've heard a message that resonates from different candidates. I think, believe it or not, there's a grain of in everyone's soul to say, like, you know what, they genuinely love and believe, one, that America is an amazing place, and then from there the visions of how that America should be vary. But I think, rather than my preference in candidates of who's better, I think I should always leave that to the individuals to decide what suits them best. Mm-hmm. But I just only hope that whoever we elect is extremely passionate about Americans, about the life we have, about all of the sacrifices we've made as a country, and strive for that leadership role in the world where we can make it a better place for everyone. But certainly, it's not me, and we just haven't heard a lot of that in this particular campaign. It's been so unusual.
So just a few more questions here, and I'm just curious here now. What type of candidate would you say this is the guy who is going to make America, as you put it, sane again? What type of of statement of anything would they have to say where you would say, that's the guy who really gets it, and this is the guy who I'm not gonna. He is sane, so my job here is done.
Well, that's a tough question because we've had many, I think, remarkable presidents over the years, and then we've had some not so remarkable ones. There are so many different aspects of America that need attention. It's one thing to have a speech and lift your arms in the air and say what you'll do. It's extremely tough to find people that are able to navigate the political system and actually exact change. So I love people of passion.
Okay.
and integrity. And I think if you start with integrity and passion, that those are some pretty strong foundational aspects for any candidate.
All right. Sorry. Yeah. Please.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, and I was going to ask, you talk about, it's interesting, and I almost wasn't expecting this, and this was a question I actually hadn't had written down. But you talk about America, and I find it fascinating. While you say there's a flaw, it sounds as though you believe in something I similarly believe in, which not many young people believe in these days, that America truly is an exceptional country. And I'm just curious if you could affirm that or deny that, but the way you speak about that, it's interesting that while there's still a huge flaw, you're willing to say that this is one of the greatest countries in the world, and I'm just curious your take on that idea that I kind of got.
I find it tough to hear rhetoric from outside of the U.S. And I do know America has flaws, but it's really tough to think that when you give people a democracy, which many countries don't have, that people could say it's not a great place to live, where we can actually choose who guides us, and we all have input in the way we live our lives. I mean, America is this place where the opportunities are unlimited. Our children can become anything. We're capable of doing business and creating things and becoming great and providing jobs and changing social opportunities. It is an amazing place, and we should all consider ourselves incredibly lucky to have been born here, for its freedoms as well. I can promise you that if I took a toilet out in the street in some countries, I'd be dead within minutes. You do what I do, they could hack you up, they could take you away, they could throw you in a cell, without even questioning what the reasoning behind it is. It's just that it would be considered potentially blasphemous. So, unequivocally and without hesitation, I would say America is a great country of opportunity, and it's a great country for all of us to live.
I gotta say, I was starting this interview when I first came into my mind to contact you. I thought, oh, there's gonna be another person running for president with some message. We had somebody who wanted to give who's running for president, wanted to give the death penalty to drug users. I figured, maybe this will be something similar. But I gotta say, of all the people I've interviewed for president, you are the most sane person, and I definitely appreciate that, and I mean that for every single presidential candidate I've interviewed.
This is people, a good one. The candidates need to stop thinking about themselves, ideally, and honestly think about the people they're serving. But my role is not
one. All right, you were saying, sorry, we just lost you right there.
Yeah, it's my role is not about giving policy opinions or chiding other candidates or guiding us in our political views. I think that's everyone's sole right. I mean, that's the beauty of America. But my mission is to ask how we can, each and every one of us, make our world better. And it starts in our homes. It starts in our neighborhoods. It starts with our families. It's holding the doors for people. It's helping our elderly. It's looking out for our parents. It's 1,000 small things that add up to one great thing. And I think it's less selfishness and more giving. But it's, it takes, again, my role is not to tell people how to, live their lives, but only ask that they take a moment to think what we can all do to make it better.
Well, hats off to you, my friend. And just wondering if there's any other, statements you got to give, and then I'll let you go, where we can find you, where we can expand your message. Just a quick shout out to the listeners, I suppose, that you want to give.
Well, I would just say if you're interested in seeing any of the campaign materials, and some of them are extremely, I don't know if it's entertaining or shocking or curious in nature, but if you go to russell.org, it's russell.org, then you can take a gander at some of the things I'm doing. You can see some of the charities I'm supporting. The Facebook page has even more content from people we've been interacting with. So if you go to Facebook and put in Russell Hirshon for president, the community page, you'll see our updates as we move towards the election day. So I think that's the center of what I can offer.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, and have a wonderful day. I hope to have you back in the future.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So, everybody, that was Russell Hirshon. He's running for president of the United States, but he's not running for whatever reasons anybody else would be running for. He's running on the sole purpose of really making America a great country again. And I find it so fascinating that, I interviewed Jill Stein, I interviewed Jim Gilmore, I interviewed a lot of people running for president who all thought their ideas were the best way. Russell says, no, I don't know how to make this country, I don't know the policies to do, but I do know, it can be better. Sorry, folks, I keep getting hoisted away. But anyways, Mr. Hirshon is running for president for what I think is the most amazing reason. And, if you see his posters, you'll realize, it's wacky. Okay, the idea is wacky. But at the end of the day, you find what his message was to be amazing. And for those reasons, I'd say not only can this man's message make America great again, but we could all learn something from this. I mean, you heard what he does for a living. He's not a senator or a congressman, but it doesn't take a senator or a congressman to make our country work. It takes citizens willing and dedicated to make it work. So, a good tip of the hat to Mr. Hirshon. I'm impressed. I'm actually blown away. I don't think I've ever met someone running for, I've never met somebody or interviewed somebody running for president who had this type of message. It is truly unique. Truly unique. Wow. So, that's all I got for this week. I hope to be back next week. I can't make promises. I'm very busy with college right now, working, and I just bought 400 note cards because I filled up 200. So we're working on it, but I'll do my best to keep bringing you the good guests and keep this show going stronger than ever. So tune in this week. Share this episode with your friends. Share it with everybody. Look at russell.org as he asked you to. Check out his message. But ask yourself the question, what is it that you can do to make our country great? What can you do to make it better? Because it doesn't take... He's a bartender. So ask yourself, what can you do today to make your country a better place? And that really is where it lies. So, on that note, I think I will leave you there. And I hope that you can figure out how to make this country sane again. Thanks for coming on, Russell. What's your opinion, everybody?
With America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
What makes us Americans is our shared commitment to an ideal that all of us are created equal.
I, too, am American.